a little bit more surrounding this book, I think will help. But then also, really getting a strong picture in their mind of what it could look like to just simply grab 40 pips a week for the
Yep.
next year. And so Zach has an illustration. This is something we're working on right now. It's called the 6-figure withdrawal plan. It's not a sexy spreadsheet right now, but the numbers are. And then Travis is going to work on this. We're working on developing this right now. We wanted to have this for people that have been booking with us over the last couple of weeks, and we promised them that they would get this for showing up to the calls. And so we're going to, as soon as this is done, a list is being compiled for all of those people. And if you want to get access to this, just very simply.
So what are the secrets? How do some of the most successful entrepreneurs find the freedom that we all got into business for in the first place? How did they find the time, energy, and resources to launch and scale strong? And how do entrepreneurs like us align our time, money, and energy in a way that will allow us to reach what we set out to achieve? These are the key questions, and this community will give you the answers. Welcome to the Prosperity Movement.
Hey, welcome to the Prosperity U podcast, and I'm on with Mr. Zach Shanke and Travis Hunter Hennigan today, and it's been a while, and I say we're on today. We typically like to be on this together, and it has genuinely been way too long, and it's been a crazy 2025 so far, and today we wanted to just re-engage and reignite surrounding this concept of patience pays. And so we got a few topics that we're going to run through. Something as simple as, again, patience surrounding what just 40 pips, 10 pips a day could look like in a week over time if one was patient and proficient, and also just really honed in on progress, and just focusing on that skill set, building these small atomic habits, if you will, focusing on progress every little bit, just one small piece of progress every day. And Travis, maybe you want to kick us off with that awesome James Clear quote that goes, "You don't fall to the." I'll let you take it away.
You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. And at face value, it's like, okay, it kind of makes sense. But just to quickly explain what that means is, like, imagine I don't know, a sports game, say baseball. Both teams showing up have the same goal. They want to win the game. But what is going to be the predictor of success during those games, right? It's the systems they're using. It's the players and all of them working together, the camaraderie, including the all-star players. But what about the coach and putting in the people taking them out and all the moving variables of that system itself? The team that has the better systems in place is probably going to be the winner, right? And the same thing with trading is, we all have the same goal when we're trading, is I want to make money, right? So you're not going to rise to that goal. You're going to fall to the level of how you systematize the approach in which you engage in the markets. And so that's what we're here today to talk about, is a practical and systematized approach to actually see what it means to make progress so that you can stabilize, because the stabilization is the only way that you can scale to those, big, impactful, and meaningful numbers that we are all looking for.
That's awesome. And so before we get into that, there's a really cool story that Zach shared on a leadership call recently about the two leaders on the boating team, I think it was. Did it have to do with boating?
Yeah, so actually I wanted to make a quick comment with what Travis was talking about, because those systems, what I liked about his analogy with baseball, and one of the things Travis snuck in there was he mentioned camaraderie as part of the system. And I think that that's important because most of the time you think of a game like a baseball game, you think like, okay, they work on, the pitcher works on his skill, and the everyone works on their batting, and then they know when to lead off the base, how far, when to steal. They know those are all fundamental parts of the system. But what about the other stuff, like the signals from the base coaches, or which ought to be different so that the other team doesn't know what the crap they're communicating about, right? Or the camaraderie is a huge deal in a game. And so sometimes the system is more then meets the eye. And if we were to um, match that up with trading, most people think system, they think strategy. It's got to be the strategy. There's so much more to it. And so one of the things that I love this book called Extreme Ownership, and it's written by a couple Navy SEALs, and it was a story of one of them was overseeing a new group of potential SEALs that were going through the SEAL training. It's called BUDS. It's a school. It's a heavy duty physical training. It's insane. It's exhausting. It's mental. It's really nuts. And one of the things that those guys do is they group them up into different like teams basically. And every team, pretty much anywhere they go, they got to carry this giant raft, and it's super heavy, especially when it gets filled with sand and water, which happens during their training. And so it's like 6 guys or something like that per squad, if you will. And they got to lift these boats over their heads and all the time, carrying it everywhere with them. Okay. It really sucks. Well, the way that the guy was explaining was the one that he was overseeing, he noticed that there were 2 teams that really stood out. Team 2, who won every race. They were just winning, doing really, really well. They seemed to work together. They had a strong leader. Every team had a leader. They had a strong leader. It was helping motivate them and everything. And then you got Team 6, who lost every single time. They were just sucking. And so that team, and it's interesting to see that the 2 leaders, because one of them was like the one that was winning. He was like, dude, you guys are awesome. I have the best team. You guys are great. And the one that was losing was like, dude, you guys suck. I have the worst team ever. And was just blaming everybody and not taking any kind of ownership. And so they were kind of tired of the guys complaining, team leader for group 6. And so they were like, hey, let's do an experiment. Group 6 leader, you are now leading boat team 2. Okay, so he's got the best team. And then the leader from team 2 go to team 6. Now the best leader has the worst team. And they did one race that way. Very first race, boat 6 won. And so it was like, it's just the people that you have leading you it's pretty impactful, and it's pretty imperative. And so anyway, it was just a really cool story that I heard over the weekend.
It sounds
Yeah,
like
it's kind of like the leader is systematizing the approach to the race, right? And it's not that it's just this one person. Of course, they all work together, but it takes the right systems in place to include the leader, right, to be able to make the most out of your situation. So I've never heard that before.
your conductor is a big key to the equation, right? Like how they lead teams. And I think that it's always good for us to be able to share some value through just it might cost you an Audible credit, or it might cost you getting a book, but some of these books can be life changing. And so there's 3 that come to top of mind. And we've talked about Living Forward before, but I don't think that we've talked as much. We talked a little bit about Extreme Ownership, but I don't think we've really actually talked a lot about Atomic Habits. And so those are the 3 books that really stick out to me right now. I'm going through Atomic Habits, and I'm also going through Extreme Ownership again. Sometimes we need a reminder of these things, right? And so, but these are books that we highly want to encourage you as a listener to go and really deep dive into that. And even our community, if you have not read these books yet and you're in our community, it's going to be really important. I think we should make a post here soon in the community and ask people if they've read these books yet. And if they haven't, it's going to be really important that they do. Living Forward is a book that Travis read while he was living in a camper behind his buddy's barn, and then within 6 months he cracked 6 figures. And life-changing stuff can happen from reading a book. It's crazy how much can happen from reading a book. That book has changed my life exponentially as well in very similar ways. I talk about how I used to live in a van down by the river, singing for my supper to go in some pretty cool places in life. But it's key to be very intentional. And then you match that up with Atomic Habits and then Extreme Ownership. Oof, that's a recipe for awesome. Yeah. That's a recipe for serious awesome sauce. So we want to encourage people to go dive into that. And Zach, why don't we also this patience pays. Get to the core of the message today with the patience pays, because in our community, noticing that we're getting some really great results, and then also, like, I was just letting a buddy know, Lance, a new student. I won't say his full name, but I've got him in my cell phone, and he texted me yesterday, and I just happened to be between calls, and I was sitting on the couch just chilling out, and he's like, "Hey, do you think we can talk for a few minutes when you have a few minutes? I have a couple of questions." I literally called him like as soon as I got the text message, and he was like, "What?" Like crazy. I'm like, "Don't get used to it. Don't make yourself think that it's going to be like this every time." It just so happened that it was a perfect timing. So
Zach still makes me call him twice. The first one he won't answer because it's not important. And if I call him right back after that, he's like, "All right, it's important." Just throwing Zach under the bus there.
But I was that's funny. I was chatting with Lance about how, like, I literally get to see, and I'm a fly on the wall in every coach's chat, and because we've chatted about some of our developments with the inner circle roundtables and stuff like that. So I'm a fly on the wall in every single chat. I do not, say anything because I don't want people to feel fearful that they can't engage. But I'm a fly on the wall. I get to see everything. And then, we might chat with the coaches on how to address certain things and this, that, and the other thing. But lots of really awesome successes happening. But then, at the same time, there are people that are wrestling here and there. Like it's happening. That's just the reality of the game. And so with the people that are wrestling, we have conversations every single week. I don't know any other organization that actually pays that close attention to their students. We pride ourselves on unparalleled support and accountability. And so when we see our people needing some assistance and needing help and they're struggling with something, we are here to help. How can we help? That's the mantra. How can we help? And so Lance, I helped him out, got him locked in with his coach. He picked Shane, which is exciting. And really cool to see some of the developments happening there with people actually picking their mentors in the community. But as we're starting to see some people wrestle with things, more times than not, it's because they'll always admit it. I'm being impatient. I'm being impatient. I'm being impatient. I really feel like the people that are struggling, and we won't name names, that they're going to want to read these 3 books, especially Atomic Habits. Extreme ownership. The ownership part isn't hard. Like I'm noticing that there's a lot of development happening with these key individuals. There's like 2 or 3 of them that out of the 500s we got going on 500 that we have right now. But I mean, still, man, like there are people that are genuinely, a handful of them that are wrestling, and they are also progressing. Like we're actually watching them grow character wise, like all that kind of stuff. It's fun to witness. It's not fun when you can see someone struggling, but when you watch them grow and blossom in the key ways that they need to in order to start making progress in the right direction, that's really, really cool. Right. And so these people are doing that. And so I would say that I'm seeing that the ownership is there, but the systems need to be dialed in, and they're very quick to admit that. And so a little bit more surrounding this book, I think, will help. But then also, really getting a strong picture in their mind of what it could look like to just simply grab 40 pips a week for the next year. And so Zach has an illustration. This is something we're working on right now. It's called the 6-figure withdrawal plan. It's not a sexy spreadsheet right now, but the numbers are. The numbers are saying. And then Travis is going to work on this, and we're working on developing this right now. We wanted to have this for people that have been booking with us over the last couple of weeks, and we promised them that they would get this for showing up to the calls. And so we're going to, as soon as this is done, a list is being compiled for all of those people. And if you want to get access to this, just very simply, let's book a time. Let's get you going on a call and get you understanding, what's most important to you in your trading journey, and getting you on the right path. But without further ado, I'll let Zach kind of get this thing moving and grooving.
Yeah, and one of the things, and I'll share my screen here in a moment. One of the things with, especially if we find someone that's struggling, a lot of times it's because they have in their mind, they have an expectation of for themselves in terms of how many pips to achieve in a week. And that expectation comes because we have a lot of very successful traders. And so what they do is they see and they hear from the community. Somebody's like, "Oh my gosh, I just did 100 pip trade." Or I got 300 pips for the week and stuff like that. And they hear these things and they're like, "Man,
Or
I was trying to get 10 in an hour."
465 last week. I think I had a 465 session. James had a 985 session.
Yeah.
I
And
mean,
so
yeah, that's
it's important to realize there's different skill levels, and again, it's part of building your own system because I mean, you're using our system, but everyone trades a little bit differently. They have a different risk tolerance and those kinds of things, and being able to identify that is huge. So let's just
James
look at
said it himself
I
on a
think
recent call. James literally said, like, if all you did was focus on 1%, just 1% a day, just that. Watch what happens if you put the numbers in. So we're going to kind of explore that. Go ahead, Travis.
I think it's important to note that, trading is just a completely different thing in general compared to what a lot of other folks are looking into. And we've been basically programmed on the idea of like work really hard and outwork everyone else, right? Or, gosh, I had something in my mind a minute ago about comparing it. Like if you want to um, you're hearing a lot of these days about people saying, if you want to make it big in life, learn how to sell, right? Be a salesman because you're always selling. Brian, you talk about that too, about being able to, you sold yourself to your wife, right? Like, or the idea of you and such, right? But to do that then, and to go work harder, then we have to make more phone calls and talk to more people and get ourselves more out there. It's always this more and more and more. And here in trading, we're like, no, that's the opposite approach than what we want. We want you to actually focus on the smaller parts and get really stinking good at just the quality of your trades, because the numbers will follow from that, right? It's not about going out and having massive action. Like I think a lot of people are in their minds thinking, if I just go out and I do hundreds of pips this week instead of the 40 that we're talking about, right? That I'll progress faster. But what we see is that is, for most people, a lack of patience. That's kind of the core to it. But if we show people how to be patient, it's actually a much more efficient, a faster way to get started and stable. Is just to focus on those small things, not massive action, strategic action. Right? That's the big difference.
100%, 100%. So I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to look at a spreadsheet. So again, this isn't totally done. So if you're not a spreadsheet person, don't worry, we'll make it pretty. We'll make it pretty soon. So I'm going to share my screen here. So I'm going to give you a quick little rundown before we talk about the numbers. Okay. So these boxes up top, these are the things that you would fill out. Okay. So starting at the top left, and if you're not a member with us, some of this might not make total sense. That's okay. All right. That's the whole point of joining our program. So basically, we have this thing called a gate system. It's a way to slowly but methodically increase the amount of value that you're trading per pip. A pip is kind of a movement in the market. So every time it moves, how much money did you make? That kind of thing. And so it starts out very small. It starts out at 50 cents per pip, right? But then you prove you're a consistent trader, you can increase it to $1 and then eventually $50, right? So there's increments throughout that whole process. And so how many pips does it take to move on to the next gate is basically what this little drop down menu does. And by default, most of our people are doing 40, but I have seen people increase it. And so I just basically did multiples of 40 here, up to 200 pips per gate. All right, but we'll keep it at 40. And then how many gates per week do you want to accomplish? So if we set this to 1, that means you're getting 40 pips per week. Guys, that is crazy simple. To put it into perspective, Monday morning I traded with James. I had 35 pips. Monday night, by the end of the session for myself, and then past that session, I traded a little bit more. I only ended up with like 20 pips, not a lot, but that's that right there. One day, 2 sessions, is 52 pips.
And just to be like just transparent and fun here for a moment, uh, had a rough live session.
Yes.
Had a rough live session and then was patient and pulled through on the other side later on that night.
Yeah.
But rough live session. And yeah, but it's you waited like how long? What did
It
you
was a
what,
total of about an hour and a half.
hour and a
So
half?
yeah, had the struggle in that first hour, and then last half hour made up for it.
There you go. Yeah, and then the next morning with James was
I got 100 pips.
100 pip.
Yeah, 100 pips in a single session. And it wasn't even the end of the session. It was like 45 minutes in or so.
So what you're saying is that setting it at 40 pips a week is setting the bar pretty low, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, that's like, I don't know.
If you take a look at the pip count on where we're at, we've been averaging the last few weeks at the front end of the year, it was between 500 to 1,000 pips, and then it moved to roughly about 700 pips a week. And then the last few weeks, it's been well over 1,000, like between 1,200, 1,400 pips a week.
Yeah.
And it's been fun to watch and witness. And some of it's really
It's
cool.
the-
Anyway,
It's the political and economic changes that we're seeing
Yeah.
with, new presidency and world trading affairs and stuff. It's a really hot market. I can't wait to see
Yeah.
the
and it's up and
2025 is going to be
but
great.
it's just obviously a lot of people are feeling the fear of what's going on. And the interesting part is that what people need to understand, what's so powerful about this is that we can capitalize on whether or not the market goes up or it tanks.
Yep.
And there have been a lot of tank weeks.
Yep.
A lot of other people are really pulling their hair out, freaked out about what's going on. A lot of our students are laughing their Southern socks off. That's what we're here to help you with.
Yes.
Just saying.
What
Anyways,
are Southern socks?
I don't know. I've heard. I think that game's making fun of us Yankees.
Got
It-
it.
Tell us, Travis.
Laughing,
Grew up in
laughing our
Texas.
Southern socks. Aren't you more Southern than all of us here?
Yes, he is.
He is. He's the most Southern guy on this call.
I grew up in a barn.
I am in Southern Alberta. It's the
Southern
closest thing we have in Canada to Texas.
So anyway, let me carry on with the little things here.
Focus.
So this little chart here is as an example. We have a starting balance in your trading account at $200. We're not asking people to put in, 50 grand or 100 grand or anything crazy like that. $200, okay? And let's say that your goal is to make 8,500 a month. That's a six-figure income. Okay, that's six figures is like 8,333, whatever, 8,500. Okay, and then what we did is we have an adjusted cash flow spot where we're basically, hey, think bigger. Okay, 8,500. Let's just get you 10,500, 10,600 here per month. How's that sound?
It's also because if we're shooting for a certain number, right? If we miss it by a little bit, then we're under the target. But if we're shooting for a little bit higher number and maybe we miss it by a little bit, now we're at our actual number that we wanted anyways. And so
Yes.
it's just set the bar a little bit higher for yourself, and it actually helps you progress again more effectively, more efficiently.
Psychologically, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Psychology 101, y'all.
So to hit this 10,625, to get that amount per month, this is how much you'd have to withdraw per week, 2,656. Bi-weekly, if you're doing bi-weekly withdrawals, it'd be 5,300. And then obviously the full amount for a monthly withdrawal. Okay. So then over here, this is, I think, the fun part that, it gives us a little more flexibility. So you can choose how frequently you want to withdraw, whether it's weekly, bi-weekly, or every 4 weeks. And you can choose which gate, there's 40 gates total. Which gate do you want to start withdrawing something? Okay, in this case, for the example here, I just put gate 10. And then how much do you want to withdraw? 10% of my profits. So if I made $1,000 that week, give me $100. Okay, so that's how that math works. And then you can ramp it up at a different number, and you can put any number in here. So if they decided, hey, you know what, at gate 20, I want to start taking 25% of my profits. Or you want to say, you know what, I'm just going to leave it the same no matter what. Or you can make it 15. You know, you get to choose whatever number you want in
Oh,
here.
the matrix shifted.
Yeah, ignore those numbers, okay? Because that's
He's fixing this right now.
it's still got some work to do here. And then finally there's a third tier. Like, okay, once I hit gate 40, just take out all the profits, maximize my cash flow. That's what this is for, right? So anyway, those are all the inputs. Okay, so we're about to get to this chart. This is the projected plan here. So we have on the left in the green, these are what gate you're on, gate 1 through 40. And obviously when you hit gate 40, that's the top gate. So I just have it stay at 40 for the rest of it. And then this is what week you're on. So week 1 through 52 for the year. Okay. And then this column is what is your weekly starting balance. So if you started with 200 bucks, boom. Week 2, this is where your week 2 starting balance is, week 3, etc. Okay. And this is your weekly ending balance. Okay. So this is based on the gate. So if you're on gate 1, you start at 200 bucks and you're doing 40 pips per gate, that means that you're going to earn 20 bucks. It's 10% of your account. Okay. And you can see the weekly percent gained over here, 10%. Withdrawal amount is 0 because we have the first withdrawal at gate 10. So we don't see a withdrawal until gate 10. Okay. So just to kind of show you now and then how much is left after you withdraw, that number's in here too. So to kind of give you the big picture here, we have totals over here. So if all you did was 40 pips per week, that is one gate per week, and you don't increase your stake until you're done with that 40 pips each week. So once a week, you're increasing it by little increments. We're talking 50 cents to $1 a pip, $1.50, $2, eventually $10, eventually 20, eventually 40, eventually 50, right? Little increments all the way up the chain. Doing all that just 40 pips a week, you would have, for that first year, you would have withdrawn into your bank account $44,000. But the benefit here, the major benefit, is your new annual income is $138,000. Where does that come from? Well, if we come down here, when we hit gate 40, we're withdrawing $27.50 per week. $27.50 per week. You do the math on that. That is over your 10. That's about your 10.6. 2656 would be 10,625. We're withdrawing a little more than that. Okay, so that's how you get your new annual income from trading only.
So a few things to note here is a lot of people will look at this and then they'll say, oh my gosh, it's going to take me 10 weeks to be able to make some money. That's where the patience that we're talking about is so important. The process of starting like that first 10 weeks and then stabilizing on that growth over and over is what we're trying to help you understand is the most powerful part of trading. If you can stabilize. What was that?
Say it. Oh man, I'm gonna say it. I know I'm gonna say it. Oh man, I'm gonna say it. Oh, everybody's gonna know. It's just like going to the gym. You're not getting 6-pack abs on month 1 or 2. We overestimate on what we could do in a month or 2, but we underestimate what we can do in 6 months to a year. Focused.
Here's a good question. You know, even if these numbers are a little bit less than you're hoping to get like your first year kind of thing, what else are you doing from now until the next year? You know, most of us don't have a plan to begin with, and we're not into another skill and doing something like this, right? Like what are we really looking at here? In a few weeks, we can stabilize on something and start seeing some and this is just an example too. This is not strict expectations. This is just one example setting the bar pretty stinking low with 40 pips. We're trying to really drive and paint this picture for you. This is setting the bar low for anybody to be able to come through and master a skill, right? And then from there, we're starting to build up, but it's an exponential. It's not like, oh, it's going to be a year of taking out a few dollars here. It's like, hey, if you get really stinking good at doing this over and over and over, there's no reason why you're not going to increase a little bit of that money and then start maximizing the gains, right? And it's all a numbers game. If we can be patient for the first few weeks, first few months, you can create a system. And that's what we're trying to show you. The system that you can create has the exponential. And then as you do, increase your skill and consistency and stuff, you can change these numbers. So we're just showing you the bottom of the barrel here with the 40 pips a week. Many of our students are doing significantly more than that, right? So I just want to make that really, really clear is yes, give yourself some time to actually systematize so that we can look and say, here's what you've developed, and here's maybe some holes that we need to patch, and then get you again. The point is to be stable and do it over and over and over. And if you allow yourself that first 6 to 12 months to really hone this in, this is life-changing, absolutely life-changing skill sets and systems that you're developing. Are we going to show any kind of variable change here?
Yeah, I can. I just want to on that note. So
the only reason why I'm saying this is that we're crunching time here.
Yep.
How much you want to put into this, and do we have another round? Because we've got new developments with this. Obviously, this is still not finished yet.
Yep, I got one more thing I want to talk about briefly here. So just I typically trade 2 days a week. 2 days a week, okay? And the first week of April, I did 254 pips. The second week of April, I did I did not select the right number. Hold on a second. Second week of April, I did 32 pips. I think I only traded 1 day. That was 1 day. Yeah, okay. The third week, 80. And that was 1 day as well. The fourth week, this week so far, I'm at 108. So, it's 40 is so simple, guys. I'm putting in 1 or 2 days worth of effort.
Doubled an account since February.
Yeah, more than that. Yeah, more than double, about 150.
150%.
Yeah. All right. So just to kind of show you one more thing, if you were to do 80 pips per week, just one more. If you were to just do something like that, ignore this. Okay, there we go. You can see that your total withdrawal is 88,000 and your new annual income is $250,000.
And keep in mind, you're starting with a small amount.
You're doing this with 1 to 2 days a week, and there are 5 days in a week. That's insane. And I'm just. That's all I have for the audience is scratching my head like a monkey, and that's what James has to express is that a gifted monkey could do this.
So for anyone that is struggling, if you do have a struggle bit with trading, obviously get support, and that's what we do in our community. However, one of those things that's really helpful is slow down. We say slow down to accelerate. This is that whole patience pays. You'd be shocked if you can consistently do 40 pips a week. You'd be shocked at how easy it is at that point to do 80 instead.
Seen guys just really quick too, actually criticize us on that. One of the 3 guys that have been really irked with us over the last how many years of hundreds of students, guys that post junk and all kind of stuff, but express. And in the meantime, we've seen what has been submitted to us from this individual of the crazy ups and down roller coasters. And it's dude, you don't have to. One day he would be boasting about all the pips that he got. And then the next day,
he lost all of it.
Yeah.
Literally.
It was I would never do that on my other account. And it was come on, dude. Yeah. So I want to encourage the community and everybody listening. If you're a new person coming through, we want to show you, the pip count calculator and everything that's going on, where we're at for the year, all that kind of stuff. I think that you can, I'm not sure if there is a pip count area on our website right now. I thought we talked about that at some point. I don't know if it's there, but a way that just a few different kind of people that I want to address right now. First of all, if you're brand new and you're listening to this for the first time, a very simple way that you can get in contact with us is to go to prosperitymovement.online, and then there's a little chat bubble at the bottom of the page, and you can just put in your information. And I would say just pump in trade results, and we'll get you an actual walkthrough of our trade results, where we're at, current pip count for the year, what the average has been over the last few years, and how we're going to blow past that this year because we've got more calls going on. We've got succession happening. If you want to get access to that, if you want to get access to the 6-figure withdrawal plan, you can just put in 6-figure withdrawal plan. We'll put you on that list. And then, of course, we have a blueprint. So you can put any of those code words in there or all of those code words in there, and we'll get you all of those goodies, kind of like Christmas. And we'll get you moving and grooving with all of those awesome additions. Now, if you are, have been receiving text messages, you're on our list. We actually have a list of roughly 20,000 right now, and actually growing by how many a week? Roughly 500 or so a week.
Yeah.
We're growing by 500 a week. And so if you're receiving emails and you're receiving text messages, all you have to do is just text. I would say you can text those keywords back to us, and we'll be able to get back to you, whether it's a blueprint, trade results, or 6-figure withdrawal plan. And all you got to do is just jump on a call. Let's have a connection point, talk about your trading journey. And you know what? If you're not qualified for whatever reason to be able to join the community, that's okay. We want to get you these gifts. We want to get you this information, and hopefully inspire you to get into a position. And I can't tell you how many people we actually have in our community that were not qualified at one point in time, and then within 6 months to a year after having a conversation and getting really intentional, they are, and they're here, and they're seeing great results. And so encouraging you with that. And I think that's about as much as I have. Anything else you guys have to say?
That sums it up. Yeah.
It's good.
Well, we want to wish you all the best in health, wealth, relationships. God bless you abundantly, and we'll see you soon. We're going to really work hard on being more consistent with this, make an atomic habit out of being consistent with the podcast again. So God bless. Chat soon. Cheers.
Bye, guys.